Local.tv. This morning we are very pleased to have Professor Catherine Lovekin from Mount Allison University. She is going to talk to us about a very special meteor shower that's going to be happening. I don't know if we'll see it today with the thunderclouds, but it's more than just one night. Welcome, Professor Lovekin. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Excellent. So what exactly are we going to be looking at, or hopefully looking at, the next couple of days?
Well, if it clears up, hopefully, we're going to be looking at something called the Perseid Meteor shower. And this is one of the bigger meteor showers, more spectacular, higher rate of meteors. That's really the most important thing. So the Perseid Meteor shower usually peaks somewhere between 60 to 100 meteors per hour.
Wow.
So, you know, one every minute or so if you're out at the right time. But this year it's expected to be even bigger. The stream of debris that produces this meteor shower was perturbed by Jupiter about a year and a half ago, 16 months. And so they're predicting that it's going to be a higher rate and we'll get well over 100 meteors per hour potentially.
Wow. So how big is a meteor shower? Like, what is it? Is it like a cloud of rocks that comes through? I mean, what exactly is it?
Basically. So most of the meteor showers that we see originate from comets. And comets are like dirty snowballs. And so when they come into the inner part of the solar system, they start to melt, and all of the dust and debris in the outer layers starts to fall off and gets left behind. So if you trace back the path of a comet, you can find this trail of debris behind it. And if we then cross through that path, the debris enters our atmosphere. And most of it is very small. It's dust or things the size of peas or smaller. But when they enter the atmosphere, they heat up as they get slowed down, and they glow very brightly and produce these streaks across the sky.
So if we see a streak across the sky, I mean, it could technically be something the size of a pea?
Yeah, or even smaller.
So how far away would it be? I mean, how can you see something like the size of a pea that far away? Not that I don't believe you, you know.
Really, really hot. Basically.
So is the intensity of the like, does it create the intensity the flame that just kind of makes that bright spot?
Yeah, basically. When it passes through the atmosphere, the particles are initially going very, very fast. They're moving at high speeds, and so when they hit the atmosphere, they start to slow down, and that produces a lot of friction between the particles in the atmosphere and this dust particle, and so it causes both the particle to heat up, but also the surrounding air to heat up, and those both get hot enough to glow very, very brightly. So they're probably in the upper layers of the atmosphere, so maybe 100 to 150 kilometers above the surface.
So is there any way to tell, or do you know the actual size of the cloud? Like from end to end, like is it?
There are probably ways to find that out, but I don't know off the top of my head.
But I mean, this cloud or debris, it's come around before, so it's coming around again. So obviously it's in some kind of orbit of some kind.
Yeah. So the cloud is actually spread out all along the orbit. So you can imagine, draw a big long ellipse, an elongated circle, and that whole thing is filled with dust and debris.
Oh, okay.
And then we get a meteor shower if, when the Earth is orbiting the sun, it runs into part of that cloud.
Oh, I see. So it's almost kind of like a racetrack, I guess, and then the Earth kind of gets close to the edge of that racetrack, then you get a little bit of the debris that goes through.
Yeah, and so the Perseid meteor shower comes around this time of year every year, because that's when we cross the orbit of the comet, and it's Comet Swift-Tuttle is the one that originates the stream of this particular meteor shower.
Oh, okay. So obviously in town is not the best place to be watching a meteor shower, or there's thunderstorms. Where's another good spot? Where, like in our area, is it Sackville? Is that the place to go?
Anywhere where the sky is going to be pretty dark and you have a good view. It depends a little bit what time you go out. You want to look for the constellation Perseus, because that's sort of the origin, or the apparent origin, of these meteors. They'll all look, if you trace them back, like they're pointing to this one spot on the sky in the constellation Perseus. Oh, Perseus doesn't rise until 10 or 11 at night at this time of year. So if you go out sort of just after dark, you need to be able to see the eastern horizon very well. And you're not going to be able to see a lot of meteors.
Right.
The best time is later. The moon sets tonight around 1 a.m. So if you go out after moonset, but before sunrise, so between 1 and about 4:30 a.m. And all you really need to be able to see is mostly the southern part of the sky. And as long as you have a clear view of the sky, you're most likely going to be able to see some meteors.
Wow. So they wouldn't necessarily be directly overhead, but in the southern part of the sky, like you say.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So these are just, are there any larger particles that are in there? Or are they all generally just small in this elliptical path?
The ones in the meteor showers are generally small. You do occasionally see larger meteors. You get something called a fireball, which is unusually bright. And of course, very occasionally you get something large enough that it survives to hit the ground and you get an asteroid or a meteor impact, leaving a meteorite behind. But that doesn't usually happen with meteor showers.
This may be an unfair question, but let's say you had something that hit the ground that was the size of a potato. How big would it have been before it went through our atmosphere?
I don't know.
I was surprised because whenever I looked up at seeing a meteor shower, we were on Prince Edward Island a few weekends ago, and we saw maybe, I don't know, we counted like 8 in an hour, and I was kind of surprised and thought, wow. So I just always kind of assumed they were the size of a car or a Winnebago. I had no idea that they were so small.
No, it would be very difficult to say how big it was to start with without knowing more about the meteor itself.
The composition and everything else. And
they come in different types. There's rocks and there's iron, and the iron ones are going to stay closer to the same size, whereas the rocks more will burn away, and it depends on exactly what type of rock. So it can vary a lot.
Yeah, I suppose it makes sense. I remember when I was a kid, and I don't know if I, just because I was up late or imagined it or what, but I remember seeing a comet. We were sleeping in a friend's tent doing some backyard camping, and of course, in the middle of the night, kind of fun to get out, go around on your bikes, and we saw this huge fireball that lasted for at least, it must have been 8 seconds, because we stopped and looked at it for a while, and we're thinking, it's just going to crash, like, where is it going? And it was huge. I mean, from what I could see, it was like, big fireball thing, and there was no talk about it in the radio or the media, so I don't know if it was something else or not, but that seemed to be an unusual happening.
It sounds like an unusually large meteor, but again, the source of that was probably still only potato-sized.
Oh, so disappointing. No.
And it may never have even hit, it may not have been big enough to ever actually reach the ground, and that would be why you didn't hear anything about it. Okay, interesting. So this is a very special event, and it's not coming around for a while again, is that true? Well, the Perseids will come back next year, but the unusual strength will be a while before that happens again.
That's not cool. What is your favorite meteor shower or comet, or what is your big interest in this sort of? Obviously, I know you have a big interest because you're in astronomy, but what kind of gets you excited?
Well, my research is actually in stars. I don't study meteors at all. But they are fun to watch, and the Perseids is definitely one of the better ones because it is. It's warm enough to go out as long as you can stand the mosquitoes, and there's a lot of meteors to see. There's another really good one, the Leonids, I think, but they're in December, and of course nobody wants to go out and lie on the snow and watch for meteors in December. So.
Well, hopefully not. Anyway, well, that's very exciting. So this is going to happen for how many days now?
So the peak is tonight, so you'll get the best view tonight, but you can usually see a fair number of meteors for a few days either side. So if you don't get out until this weekend, you'll probably still be able to see a few meteors.
Great. Well, Professor Lovekin, thank you very much for explaining this to us. I appreciate that. I'm a little bit, I don't say disappointed, but it's interesting to know. I had no idea they're that small and they could burn that bright. So thanks very much for joining us to tell us about the meteor shower and the importance or the excitement of it being such a unique event.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
I was Eric Jingles for BuzzLocal.tv. Thanks so much for watching.